Hi, everyone, and welcome to Choice the Liberator Summit. And I am so delighted to have with us today Brendan Watt, and he's a totally different.
Hi, Nilofer. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I've been really looking forward to having you on the show, and yeah, as I was thinking about the show today, I was just thinking about my kids and how much the tools of access have, like changed everything for us.
Yeah, right. They're quite dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a different way of looking at things. Like yesterday, my son, he's 15 years old, and he had to do a school project, and he had bought some stuff for the project, and what he did was he actually gave away half of the things to his friends. And this is like what he usually does, he just allows himself to be used and abused by people. So it's like I looked at him and I said, "Wow, you're doing such a great job of being used and abused by your friend." And he's looking at me and going, so, so, like someone looking at us would have said I was being so mean, but in my universe, that was like such a great veggie I put in for him.
Well, kids have this thing as well where they have such a generosity of spirit. So
Yeah.
we have, a lot of us adults look at if I give something to someone, what will I get in return? Kids don't really do that. They're just like, okay, you can have this or you can have this, and you know, it can be a good thing, and also if it works for them, and if not, then
Yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah, I can see he's got that generosity of spirit, and at the same time, I've seen where he kind of gets abused, or maybe that's just my point of view.
Right. Yeah, well, we oftentimes do that as parents, I guess, as well. It's like say for me, if something happened to me as a kid, like say for example, I used to get bullied in school a lot, and so now, well, up until a couple of years ago, I had this thing where if Nash went to school, he would get bullied. So my point of view was any kid that goes to school gets bullied, but it wasn't actually the case. It was something that happened for me. And one thing I found was I was putting all these projections on him of saying, well, I got bullied at school, so you're going to get bullied at school. And I might not have been actually verbalizing it to him or saying it to him, but he picks up, like, our kids are such psychic little SpongeBobs, and they pick up all the things that are going on for us, all the other adults, the teachers, and it was almost like he was expecting to go to school and get bullied. So one thing we do in Access a lot is we destroy and uncreate our points of view. And as a parent, this is a great start to get out of I guess, to get out of the normality with parenting and to do it from a place that works for you. So every time a point of view comes up like that for me, and it still does, it's like one thing I'll ask is, who am I being? Who am I being right now? And it might be, say for instance, I might be being my father and what he would have done, or my mother and what she would have done, and destroy and uncreate all those points of view. And same thing with any points of view you have about parenting. So that's what I still do a lot, and it just gives me a lot more choice with Nash.
Yeah, so I guess it's one of those things you do every day, right? Because you wouldn't have points of view every day.
Mm. Well, I think you know when it's a point of view as well, because it doesn't really feel quite right. You're like, well, it like this doesn't seem like me at all. So um, another great question is, who does this belong to? Who does this belong to? Even with your kids, it's like when they say, um, you know, I can't even think of an example, but say for me, if I have these points of view going on, well, who does that belong to? And destroy and uncreate that as well. So I don't know where do we want to start right now? Should I?
Where do you want to start?
All right. Cool. Well, so one thing we use in Access is, and I know you use it a lot too, Nilofer, is the clearing statement. It's this bunch of wacky words, and it's been the most dynamic change for me in the ways that I've used it. So when we bring up these energies, say for instance, the thing that I said about me being bullied. So I had the point of view that all these kids would bully Nash because he was just he's very similar to me when I was a kid. He has this, he's sweet, he's kind, he's caring, and oftentimes in this reality that's not seen as a valuable thing to be. So everywhere I bought that point of view, I'll destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, millions. And I started doing that with all these things that came up for me with being a parent, and that was, I guess, the foundation of what started me changing the way that I did it. So also the clearing statement, we don't really have much time to explain it now, but we've got a website. Access has a website that is theclearingstatement.com. If you'd like it to be explained or find out what it means, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. So, now that you are talking about being bullied, can you like talk a little bit about that and how do you handle that if that's going on for your kids?
Yeah, well, first I'd ask the kid questions and say, for instance, if it was Nash, well, he was getting bullied at school, and which is so funny because now I think back on it, when I started doing that, destroying and uncreating all the points of view I had and so one other thing I'd like to add to that as well is all the projections and expectations you have of your kids, to destroy and uncreate all that as well. So I'd projected on him that he was going to get bullied, and it's interesting, I didn't look at it until just now, that he was getting bullied at school until I started doing this for myself and destroying and uncreating everywhere I'd put that on him, and it stopped. So that would be number one for me, if there's any projections you have as a parent. Next is ask the kid questions like, okay, so what's it going to take for this to change? So Nash was getting bullied in, I think it was like grade 1 or something. He was getting bullied, and we started looking at, okay, what's it going to take for this to change? And not having the point of view of how it's going to show up either. So how it changed for him, we found out that the school he was in really wasn't working for him. So we started asking him questions like, okay, so number one was, would you like a different school? And he said yes. Number two was, okay, so what's it going to take for a school to show up that works for you, that's nurturing for you, that you enjoy, that you want to be at? And that was the next question. And then the third question was, okay, so let's just start contributing energy for that to show up. And it was funny, I think it was within 2 weeks, we found this school that we never even knew was there, and it's 5 minutes from our house. It's quite a small school. It's like got, I think, 250 kids, and he loves it. So always asking questions, I found that it really took the effort out of things. It was like, okay, this is what shows up, this is what shows up, and the universe does contribute to us once we start asking these questions. So I think 3 years down the track, he's at school. He doesn't get bullied anymore. He's got more of a sense of him. One other thing I'd like to add to that too is kids often bully other kids because the kid they're bullying has something that they think they cannot be. So, for instance, with Ash, there's times where you care and kid, and a lot of times in this reality, people wish to take that from you, which is hence the bullying and how it comes apart, how it seems to come across. I know that was how it was for me when I was a kid. So
kind of cut off when you were talking about the other kids. So can you just repeat what you were saying?
Talking about the other kids.
You said that
was that just
the kids bully because they think they don't have something from that point.
Oh, right, yeah. So oftentimes what I've found with kids, the reason why, and not just with kids, adults get bullied in the workplace, at home, whatever. But when people bully, it's oftentimes the bully will be the child that's being bullied will have something that the bully thinks they cannot be or have.
So
So,
how does that help? Having that awareness, how does that help?
well, it's more just having that awareness. So for me, it's like for me as a kid, I was this like it was so for me as a kid, it was like until I was the age of, and I must say this is so strange. So I'm trying. I have me on the screen, but then I have you down here, Nilofer, and I'm trying to look at the camera rather than you. I'll get there. So for me as a kid, um, I tell this story of I remember being at school one day, and um, I think I was like 7 years old, which would have been grade 2 or 3, and I used to cry every day. Like I'd had this quite full-on childhood up until that point, and I used to cry every day. And I sat under this tree one day, and I thought I can't remember a day when I did cry, and that's like a big aha moment, and that I started trying to fit in. I guess if you give your kids that awareness, someone would have been there for that age for me and said, hey, this is is this what's going on for you? Is it that you have all this awareness of other people's stuff that you don't know what to do with it? Is it that people don't see you for who you are? Is it that, and ask me questions about it? It would have changed the way that I thought I had to deal with it. So I think it's just giving your kids that awareness and asking them questions so that they can look at, okay, what is it I'd like to choose? What's going to work for me here? And then actually letting them choose that as well is the next thing as well, is letting your kids actually choose what's going to work for them. And if it turns out, it turns out. And if it doesn't, you'll be there for them, and they'll make another choice, and that choice created awareness for them, and they'll keep moving.
So we're talking about choices, and Gary has been, in Access, Gary and Dane, they've both been talking a lot about creating your own reality.
Yeah.
So how do you empower your kids to choose that?
Well, one thing I do with Nash is let him choose a lot for himself. So it's like if he wants to do something, it's letting him make those choices for himself. And then even if I have this thing of, unless it's something where it's like I want to go to the park and I have an awareness that there's something that's going to happen to it, the park. That's me being a parent, and that's how I do parenting. But if the choice, if it's another choice that he's going to make, and I say have an awareness that, well, that's probably not going to work so well for him, I'm still letting him make those choices so that he can figure out which way he wants to go with creating his reality. Like for us, for instance, choice creates awareness. So every time we make a choice, no matter how big or how small it is, we get the sense of what that choice created. So it's doing that with your kids. Number one is letting them make their own choices, and also one thing I found with me was the more I created my own reality and the more I chose what was going to work for me, and the more I looked at, okay, what would I like my life to look like? What would I like my reality to look like? And making those choices, the more your kids go, wow, it's actually possible. See, I know for me growing up, it was everyone around me did these 9-to-5 jobs, or no one seemed to be happy. It was all about what they had to do, and majority of the parents were that way as well. They had to be parents. Oh, I can't believe I have to be a parent. I can't believe I have 3 kids. You chose to have 3 kids. So I guess it's that yeah, it's just showing your kids that their choices do create their reality. Um, and yeah, so that's what I've done with Dash, and he definitely has a sense of um, a lot more of himself and what he can create and what his choices create.
Um, let me ask you this other question. So I have been um, talking to a lot of parents recently, and a lot of people have this very strong point of view about how much time they should actually allow their kids to use gadgets and so on. You know how our kids are always on iPhones, iPads, etc., etc.,
Yeah,
etc.
just anything with an
So
eye on.
yeah, anything with an eye on it, yes. So
Well, we we call them we have a name for them in Access is the EBS. It's the electronic babysitter. Um, I don't I don't really have a problem with this. I um, once again, it's like the way that technology is moving with the planet. It's like, you know, a lot of these kids say, all right, let's, for an example, for Nash and myself, for instance, I grew up as a sporty kid. I did surfing. I still do it all. I love sports, anything athletic, anything where I can move my body. Surfing, I did all the footballs and cricket and soccer and, you know, anything you could imagine. And Nash doesn't want to do any of that. He likes, he's doing guitar lessons at school. He likes to be on the computer. He likes to be on the iPad. He likes to be on anything that, um, like I said, has an eye in front of it. Um, and I started looking at, well, he should, you know, he should get out there and be athletic, and he should be more like me. I had a, you know, it helped me out a lot, and it was, and see, once again, that's the place where I'm expecting him to be anything like me. So once again, I destroyed and uncreate anywhere I was, I was having them expectations of him, and looked at, okay, what would, you know, what if him playing the iPad 6 hours or 5 hours or whatever a day actually worked for him? What if it was something that he enjoyed, and just because I'm his parent, who am I to judge for what he's choosing? So, and I knew I was as well. So I looked at, okay, all the places I'm for any of this, I destroyed and uncreated all that, and that helped a lot. And also, you've got to do what works for you. If your kid's being on the computer for 10 or 15 hours a day doesn't work for you, then you need to look at, okay, this is what's going to happen. Um, a, a lot of times with this parenting stuff, it's like, you know, I talk about giving your kids choice and you know, letting them create their reality and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, well, your kids are just going to run off and be crazy and run amok and do whatever they want. It doesn't really work that way. Well, as far as I've found, but you still need to be the parent and do what works for you as well. It has to work for you. So if it's not working for you, I'd be looking at, okay, you get to play this 2 hours a day, and that's it. If that doesn't work for you, then I'm taking it off you. And I do that with Nash all the time. It's like, and you know, use these things. Well, this is what needs to happen for it to work for me. And if it doesn't work for you, then this is what's going to happen. See, I'm still willing to be firm with him as a father, and I'm still willing to be a bad parent as well, which is another thing we'll talk about in a little bit.
yeah, yeah, that talk about being a bad parent, because for me,
All
I
right.
know I know
So
that is the biggest freedom I had, you know, when I say, "Oh my God, I'm a
yeah,
bad mother." That's how awesome is
that's
that?
awesome. That's super cool. I'm a bad parent. We should run down the streets like screaming it. I'm a bad parent. I'm a bad parent. Um, so what happened for me was, um, I was before I actually started Access, I'd be this father at home that was like, I was just, well, pretty much like what I am now. But then I'd take Nash and we'd go to the shops or whatever, and I'd be like, listen, young man, you can't do that, or, you know, walk straight, or, you know, just whatever it was. And I realized, I was like, wow, so I wasn't actually willing to be judged as a parent since then, access and
So
using these
sorry,
tools and
Brendan,
stuff,
you're
I
breaking
will actually be a bad parent. I'm cutting
from,
out again. What
yeah,
about now?
yeah, from the point, afraid
Is
of
that
being
better?
judged.
Yeah. So everywhere as parents, first of all, let's do this. Everywhere as parents, you're not willing to be judged, because judgment is really just a source for destruction. It doesn't really help you out at all. It doesn't make you better. It doesn't add to your life. So everything that is, we destroy and create it.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, meons. So, and being willing to be a bad parent doesn't mean you are one. It just means that it takes that element of, if you take that element of and you can be exactly as you would be with your kids behind closed doors as you would be in public. I wonder how much freedom that would be, which was what I looked at. So it's not about being the perfect parent or being the bad parent, or it's just the willingness to do parenting the way that works for you. Like, Nilla, for yourself, you might parent a completely different way with your kids as that I do with mine, and that doesn't mean that I'm good or you're good or I'm bad or you're bad. It's like that's what works for you, and this is what works for me. So, um, it's all about getting the sense of what's going to work for you as a parent.
So I guess
Like,
what you're talking about is creating your own reality in parenting,
yeah,
and
yeah,
not
back to
not
that creating your,
yeah, not
yeah,
not
creating.
judging, what everybody else is has views about parenting.
Yeah, and the thing with like I still do it occasionally is I'll do something, as a parent, and I'll judge myself for it. It'll be like, that was horrible. But one thing I am noticing, and I do know, is that judgment is, like I said, is just destructive. It doesn't help me. It doesn't help Nash. It doesn't help anything. So rather than do that now, I look at, okay, that was an interesting choice. Now what can I choose? So which one? So let's do this. Which one feels lighter? I say something that I probably shouldn't have said. I sit down and judge myself for 10 minutes and think, I'm such a horrible parent. How could I do that? You know, that is just terrible. I'm so bad, blah, blah, blah. Or I say, okay, that was an interesting choice. Now what can I choose? And oftentimes I'll go up to Nash and say, you know what? I was out of line there. I had no right to say that to you. I shouldn't have said that to you. I apologize. Is there anything I can do to make up for it? And he'll be like, no, it's fine, Dad. But that way of parenting works for me, and that's it's just a different reality with your kids. Trying not
So
to advertise.
so when you are looking at giving choices to your kids, and I know a few of my friends who've got teenagers, and
Mm-hmm.
their kids are making the best of choices, and they're going into drugs or alcohol or things like that. So how do you look at that? And yeah.
Well, with teenagers, good luck. I haven't got there yet, but I know for myself, I was one, and I did it all. I did all this. I did all the drugs. I did all the alcohol. I did all the partying. I did the running away. I did the disappearing. I did the everything. Everything you can pretty much think of a teenager could do. I tried it or did it. So for me, I knew that no one could stop me doing that. They were choices I was making. I would also maybe not have made the same choices if I had someone there that actually asked me questions. Let's say I, was doing drugs. Okay, is it working for you? Yeah, it's working for me, and blah, 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 and I'll go off and do drugs. But that one question that you ask your kids is going to stick in their mind forever. And the next time they do drugs, they might think before they do it, is this working for me? And asking them questions like that. And it's just being in the questions with your kids. But with teenagers, don't probably don't expect them to actually listen to them or look like they're hearing them, and let them make their own choices. As much as you know that they're not going to work, oftentimes you just got to let them choose for themselves.
Yeah, and
You know,
I love that question. Is it working for you? And what other questions can you use there?
yeah. Well, is it working for you? Look at, what's this choice going to create? And once again, teenagers are probably going to, excuse me, look at you and go, oh, be quiet, stop asking me questions, or you're doing access on me, or, there's a lot of teenagers in access with whose parents do access, and they're like, oh, stop using that crazy stuff on me or whatever. But be an allowance of what your kids choose would be another thing. What your teenagers choose. So, be an allowance of that, but also it's not being the doormat. If it's not working for you and your kids are doing drugs in the house, it's like, look, this needs to stop, or you need to find somewhere else to live. Nash at one stage was doing this stuff.
You're breaking up again, Brendan.
It was like,
Sorry, you're breaking up.
okay, I'll slow down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, go for it. So with Nash, he was with me 50% of the time, and he was with his mum 50% of the time, and he was doing this thing where it was like he thought he could do anything and get away with it. So I asked him one day, look, do you want to go and live with your mum full time? Because I don't have a problem with that. And I told him, you will not control my life. You will not walk all over me. You will not walk all over people who I care about. If you want to keep this up, you can go and live with your mum full time. We don't have to see each other. And I meant it. And it was like, and he just went, oh. So that changed his whole life right there. Because I was willing to lose him, and I still am. I'm willing to lose him, and I'm not willing to be controlled by my kid. And that's really the place that, with not letting your kids control you, that you want to get to. And I get that it sounds crazy, but it works for me, and it's like, and I'm not willing to have him control me. And if I had a teenager who was doing the drugs in the house or whatever, I would be willing to lose them as well. So once again, it doesn't really giving them a choice. So it didn't work for me. Choose something.
You're breaking up again, Brendan. Sorry.
Damn internet. What did I stop at?
Doesn't work for me.
Yeah, so it's being willing to have that intensity with your kids as well. So when I said that,
I guess it's not about like aura fluffing and just he kind of. You have to be willing to do whatever it takes to be a parent.
Yep.
The good, the bad, and
whatever
the
it
ugly.
takes, and whatever it takes to have. Yeah, with the bad and the ugly, and do whatever it takes for it to work for you. I guess it's a fine line as well between you don't need to be like this Gestapo parent where it's like you need to do this or this is going to happen. But your kids also need to know where the line in the sand is. Nash I don't even know where the line is, but he knows there's one there. I know there's one there, and if he crosses it, that's for me as a parent where I go, that's enough. That's it. This is what needs to change now. This is what's happening now, and I will be that. And it's, to me, it's actually being caring as a parent, because it gets him to the place where he gets to look at, okay, wow, I'm not being very kind right now, or I need to change something right now, or this is going to probably make my life a little difficult. So it's that willingness to be in.
You've broken up, Ben.
Break up.
Yes.
How does it get any better than this?
Probably. How does it? So, it's that willingness to be.
Yeah, so the willingness to be that intensity with your kids when it's needed.
And the other thing that I've been looking at as I have been using the tools of access is when I actually empower my kids to make their own choices, how much they're actually creating.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's yeah, with everything, and like, what if kids could start creating their reality from birth? I mean,
Wow.
for me, it was, and for a lot of us, most people I know, it was you are a child until you're a teenager, you're a teenager until you're an adult, and then you start looking at what would you like to create as your life. You
Hmm.
know, people ask kids all the time. It's like, what would you like to be when you grow up? And they're like, uh, I don't know. Like how many percent of children just want to be a fireman or you know, or whatever. But it's kids just really want to be happy. They're not looking at, okay, what do I need to do as a career? But what choices could they start making now for their reality? So I guess where we get a little off track is creating our reality. A lot of people think, well, it's creating a job, it's creating a house to live in, it's creating what car I want to drive, it's all these different things. But it's like, what would you actually like your reality to be like? What kind of um, you know, where do I want to go? So for me, what I like my reality to be like is always more. Always looking at how much more can I have of me? What can I choose today to get more awareness? What can I do today for the planet? What can I do today to have more fun? And that's what I'd like my reality to be like. Sure, I'd like all the nice house and the cars and stuff as well. But it's giving your kids a sense of what is it you'd like your reality to be like. I don't know if that makes sense. It made sense in my head.
Yeah, it does. It does. And then, and there is this other piece I want to talk to you about, and that is about money. So it's like
Yep.
I've seen my kids do this, and they're like really manipulating us with this. And they'll go something like, "Oh, my friend has this, and their parents give them all this, and you never give us stuff like that." So, so it's like I guess what I'm asking, rather my concern at the moment is that what if I give them too much?
Yeah.
and
So
and and I guess where I'm trying to see is, again, I'm coming from the past, like how you were saying about you being bullied in school and you had that.
yeah.
But I grew up with a cousin, who was like totally out of control with money, and literally his mother bought him everything, and I've seen the way he's turned out. So
Yeah.
how do you like find that balance?
Well, it's a great question as well, and um, you know, so Nash came home from school one day and he said, he asked us, "What does spoilt mean?" And I don't even know how I explained it. I think it was like, well, spoilt pretty much means you get just about anything you ask for. And he went, "Oh," and I said, "Why do you ask?" And he said, "Because everyone at school calls me spoilt." And I just said to him, "Well, do they wish they had everything you had?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he was over it, and he moved forward, and his mates at school still call him spoiled because Nash does get pretty much everything he asks for. He is he, but he also contributes to our money flows. So we with say for instance we were living in a house that was too small, and we found this other house, but we were asking him, okay, can you contribute to us making more money for this? And we make more money, grows and grows and grows and
You're
grows and grows.
breaking
And I know one.
up. Sorry, can you say that again?
So, well, it's asking. So, if your kids want, let's say, for instance, your kid wants an iPad that's $1,000, and you could ask them, okay, so will you contribute to the money showing up for that? And they're like, well, how do I do that? Well, it's not a how, it's will you contribute to the money showing up? And we ask Nash this, and he does, and we we know our income grows. We know he's a contribution to our income. So it's what if you didn't hide money from your kids, but actually ask them to contribute to it?
Wow. Wow.
I don't know if I quite got to the point of the answer that was there.
Yeah, you got a piece of it, and I love that. And I still have this other piece sticking me, which I'd love to talk about.
Okay,
So,
what was it?
so it's like I'm again looking at it from things that have happened in my past. So, for
Right.
example, my cousin, so he actually was spending more money than his mother got in, and it was like, she could not say no to him, and it was such a burden, and he continues to do that now. And I guess it's a choice they're making at some level, but if you have something like that going on, how would you look at it?
Yeah. So, well, if I had something like that going on, I'd change it. I'd start looking at, okay, what do I need to be or do different here to change this? But also you want to look at with parents that do that actually work. What did she love about having no? Not to never say no.
Oh, sorry,
So,
Brandon, your voice is cutting off.
this is just. How does it get any better than
How
this?
does it? All the lovely technical glitches. How does it get any better than this?
So, so if it was that way for me, I would change it. If there's something that's not working for you as a parent, look at, okay, what can I be or do different here to change this? Not differently, but different. So I'd look at that for starters. Can you still hear me?
And then, you were saying something about saying no. What do you love about not saying no,
Yeah.
or
So,
something like
so what do you? So if there's something that is continually showing up for you in your life, like say for instance for this lady that could never say no, what I'd ask is, what do I
You're
love
breaking
about
up.
saying no? Everything that is times to God's. Really?
Repeat, rewind.
Can try it. Um, we had another computer on here in the background, so we've closed that. And we'll see if that helps.
Okay.
Pull that out of there. Um, so what I was talking about was, if there's something that's showing up for you all the time as a parent, there's something that you must love about it. So with the thing with never saying no to the child, I would say to myself, okay, so what do I love about never saying no? Everything that is times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, millions. If I was always in struggle with money, I would ask, what do I love about never having money? Or what do I love about struggling with money? Or what do I love about no money? Or what do I love about debt? Or what do I love about, whatever it is that's showing up for you, and everything that is times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, millions. It worked a lot for me for things that just weren't changing in my life. I was like, well, this needs to change. And then Gary said to me, I can't even remember what it was, but he said to me one day, well, what do you love about that? And I was like, nothing. I don't like, how could I love something about it? I hate it. It keeps showing up and it's ruining my life. And he's like, well, you must love something about it if you keep creating it. And I was like, oh, he's right. So how many of the what's going to do? So yeah, I'm just going to keep the talking in short stints now, so you can tell me if I'm still there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you, thank you. I just, as you were speaking, I got the awareness of how much I was kicking myself with that, kind of holding on to it, and it
Right.
just kind of let it go, and it was good. And
Yeah.
we fear as parents spoiling our kids, and as you were saying, I said, it's just a choice,
Yeah, it is just a choice, and
and you can
you
always
know,
choose something different.
yeah, and we looked at it as well, and it was like I mean, I know that we spoil Nash, and it's like like I said, he pretty much gets everything he asks for, everything he wants, everything. But he also knows what to ask for. He doesn't go and say, "Oh, can I have $100 to go to the shops?" because he knows that's not going to work. But if it's something that that's going to add to his life, then it's usually a yes. But we also educate him on money.
Yeah.
So we also teach him, educate him on little things with money, on putting money away, on doing, like he's like, I've got heaps of money. I've got like $250 in my piggy bank. He doesn't ever have the sense of I don't have money.
Yeah. And I love your definition of spoiled, getting everything that you ask for. And
Yeah,
and and if he has that sense now, how much is he going to create in the future? So,
exactly. And
and it's like having both, having a sense of what works for you, what is your own reality,
yeah,
and I can create anything. Wow.
yeah. And I think one thing I think I maybe skipped over a little bit quick as well was the contribution thing. Like, it's really asking your kids to be a contribution to you energetically. So it doesn't mean being a contribution physically can be, hey, can you take the rubbish out? Can you, mow the lawn? Can you, whatever, clean your bedroom? But also being a contribution energetically. Oftentimes I used to get this thing on my skin. I used to get hives, and I'd go and lie down next to Nash when he'd be asleep, and I'd ask him to contribute to me. So he wasn't even awake. Hey, can you contribute to my body right now? Because I knew that he had something that could. What was that? I knew. How much of you guys as parents actually know that you've never been taught that you actually know things? So I'd lie down with him and I'd ask for his contribution, and within 20 minutes or whatever, it'd be gone. So it's the same with money. Asking your kids, hey, can you contribute to this showing up? If things aren't going easy in your life, hey, can you contribute to me right now? I'm not doing that great or whatever, and starting to get to that place with your kids rather than I'm the parent, you're the kid, I'm the boss, you're the kid, I'm the money earner, you're the kid. What if it could be more of a communion as a family rather than a definition of I'm the parent, you're the kid? Am I still there?
Yeah, you are. I'm making notes. I'm writing. I have my pen here.
Just a little bit like, yeah. So that was a big thing for us, and and the thing I love about Access is with all these tools, the worst thing that can happen if you use them is it doesn't work. That's it. So the worst thing that's going to happen is it doesn't get any better. So what have you got to lose? That's why
Yeah.
we live the tools. We use them every day. We use every single one we can get our hands on, and our lives just get better and better and easier, and more money shows up, and more fun shows up, and more of everything that we ask for shows up, which is just horrible.
It is terrible. So, talking about contribution,
Mm.
um, for, for me, for myself, a lot changed when I actually started acknowledging the contribution I was being. So, one of the questions I've been asking every day is, what contribution am I being that I'm not acknowledging?
Yeah, great
So,
question.
so so if you are being that question with your kids, I wonder how much acknowledging that will create for them in their universe.
Well, the thing with contribution is you're not going to allow it in unless you're willing to receive it. So with kids, like,
You're
the
breaking up,
contribution
Brendan.
they are,
You're breaking up.
damn, I was getting
Start
so
again.
profound too. Should I go upstairs and yell at my modem, or I don't know if that will help. Um, but so what was I saying? So contribution won't work unless you're willing to receive it. So with your kids, it's acknowledging them for the contribution they are as well. And it's like with your awareness, with your knowing, the more you actually acknowledge it for yourself and acknowledge it in other people and just acknowledge it, the more of it shows up, the more you allow to have in your life. And it's the same with your kids. Acknowledge them for their contribution. Wow, thank you so much for your contribution to this. And they're like, oh, cool, I'm going to do more of that. I'm getting seen. They see me as who I am. Cool, I'm going to do more of that. And when your kids have an awareness, wow, that was an awesome awareness. You are phenomenal. That was just so cool. And they're like, wow, they see me. I'm going to do more of that. Same with their knowing. How did, like, when they come up with something and you think, how did they know that? Wow, that was so cool that you just knew that, like that. And then once again, wow, they see me. I'm going to do more of that. So it's acknowledging your kids for the being that they are, for that they do know, that we do know. We all know things. We all have our own awareness, and we all know something that is different from somebody else.
Wow, wow. This piece has
Hope
been amazing. Not that anything else hasn't been, but thank you for saying that. So, Dad,
Yeah, you broke up.
what else do you know as a dad?
Well, I was just looking there what we wrote as because I don't know if we have been talking about choice and stuff as well. Well, as a dad in general, so once again, it's for me, there were so many things of being a dad. Like all these people would say, you know, you got to be the man of the house, and you have to go out and earn the money and stuff like that. So it's really once again destroying and uncreating all the projections you have of yourself, all the projections you've bought from others, all the points of view that you've bought from your parents. So one thing I like to do also is get up in the morning and look at, okay, so what if there was no yesterday? What if I had to start again right now? What would I choose? What would I choose if there was no past? If there was no whatever I did yesterday? So what if every day you destroyed and uncreated as well? I'm getting a little bit off track here, but I'll come back to it. Is you destroyed and uncreated every day your relationships with your kids. So everything my relationship was with my kids yesterday, I'll destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and popcorn, on shorts, boys and millions. Everything my relationship was with myself yesterday, I'll destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and popcorn, on shorts, boys and millions. And you could do that with anyone. Your relationship with your parents, your relationship with your spouse, with your siblings, and start to function from that place. And once again, it puts you into the place of choice. So if none of that was relevant, what happened yesterday, what would I choose today? And being a dad in general, I guess, like I said, you know, not having the point of view, not defining yourself as a father. Now that I'm a father, I must do this. Now that I'm a father, I must do that. I know my tagline on my website, I think it says, undefining what it means to be a father. So it's all about, for me, it's all about asking questions. You know, what is it that's going to work for you? If that's supporting your family and being that kind of father, that's great. That's awesome. If it means that you can only see your kids once a fortnight, okay, so have the best well, I don't know if people around you use fortnight, 2 weeks. Have the best weekend every 2 weeks that you could imagine is possible. You know, and just use whatever works for you. What is it you'd like to be as a father? What is it you'd like to be as a mother? I guess that's, yeah.
So
Well,
sometimes you have parents who are being very forceful with their kids, you know. Like I've seen some fathers come down really heavily on the kids and, you know, they are kind of impelling them with the points of view they have, or maybe even using anger and rage. So
Yep.
in that case, how can you what kind of questions can you ask the child to get them to see a different possibility for them?
Well, you got to look like, well, for the parents, for instance, you got to look at you know, are they willing to change? For the kids, it's asking the kids questions like, well, Dad told me I'm wrong. Okay, is that really true? Teaching kids light and heavy is a great thing as well. So we talk about this thing in Access where it's, if it feels light to you, then it's something that's right or correct for you. It's something that works for you. If it feels heavy, then it's something that is a lie, or something that doesn't work for you, or something that's not going to work for you. So teaching the kids that, okay, so when your dad called you wrong, did it make you feel light or heavy? Oh, it made me feel heavy. Okay, so maybe it's not true. Oh, and kids are willing to get over things like that. They'll, you know, they'll look at, okay, that's Dad, that's who he is, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. So, Brendan, you've put
You could
together this.
also Sorry,
Sorry.
you could also teach them how to manipulate their parents.
Oh yeah.
Dad, why do you have to yell at me? I'm trying my hardest. Give them the lines that's actually going to make their parents look at, oh wow, is this my best choice?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, um, how do you look at kids who do whining?
Who do what?
Whining.
Whining. Um, I would just enjoy it. I know when Nash used to do it, he doesn't do it anymore because obviously it didn't work for him. But kids will do whining as a form of manipulation.
Yeah, yeah.
They'll do it because at some stage they got what they wanted for it, and that it's worked for them, so they'll keep doing it. So when Nash used to do it, he was more on the tantrum side. He'd do the kicking and screaming and wailing and carrying on, and I used to just laugh at him. I would be hysterically laughing at him, and I'd be like, okay, have fun with that, and I'd just walk away. That was it. And he would just go, oh, it didn't work for him. So he did it a few more times and realized it wasn't going to work, and he stopped. So I would enjoy it with your kids. If your kids are whining, Mom, I want to do this, I want to do that. Okay, thanks. Thanks for your input, and walk away. And kids will look at, okay, that just is not working for me. So, and then they'll find a newer, better, and more improved way to manipulate you. Be prepared for that. And also with manipulation, it's okay to let your kids do it. I know every time Nash is doing it to me, and I just think it's hilarious. And oftentimes I'll still give him what he wants, just because I think he's so good at it. What if it wasn't? Like, what if manipulation wasn't a bad thing, and your kids could actually grow up using it in ways that actually work for them? Because we've always been taught that it was manipulation's bad. You should tell the truth. You shouldn't manipulate people. It's an evil, blah blah blah. But it's like, if your kid's good at batting their eyes and getting what they want, why would you? What if that was a gift that they could use in their lives to get what it is they're asking for? So I like to encourage it. I'm a bit different.
You totally are different. So Brendan, you have an amazing teleclass series coming up with parenting and kids. You want to talk a little
Which is
bit about
cool.
that?
Oh yeah. So what if you had endless choice with your kids? So parenting is such a broad thing. So we're going to look at different aspects of parenting, with having choice with your kids, and going deeper into definitely using a lot more of the clearing statements and a lot more you know, and I'll be sharing a lot more tools that have worked for me. Like I said, I think we've definitely brushed the top of the iceberg talking about it today. There's so many, I mean, I could talk about it forever, but so it'll definitely be exploring more things like that. There'll be 75-minute calls with verbal processes that'll come as a download as well. Yeah, and there's 5 calls, and I start on the 23rd of July. And yeah, like I said, what if parenting could be easy? What if it could be fun? What if it was actually something that added to your life rather than it's such a bore, such a drag? Oh, to be a parent again today. So what if we could change that?
Yeah, what would it take? What would it take? So,
Yeah,
do you have any last nuggets of wisdom to share with our viewers?
sure. I don't know well, I should explain that. Well, I would start with you know, what I did when I started Access was I got this clearing statement, right? So it was right and wrong, good and bad, pot and popcorn on shorts, boys, million. I just started playing with that. I played with it a lot. One other thing I did every day was I'd go, okay, what would it take to have more awareness today? More awareness of me, more awareness of what I'd like to have as my reality. And it wasn't always comfortable. Things would show up. You know, the more awareness you start to have, the more aware you are of other people's realities, of other people's pains, of other people's what's not working for them. But that was my number one question. What would it take to have more awareness today? And with the clearing statement, just play with it. What would it take for life with my kids to be easier? Everything that doesn't allow that, right and wrong, good and bad, pot and popcorn on shorts, boys, meals. What would it take for me to start making more money? Everything that doesn't allow that, clearing statement. What would it take, you know, and play around with it. What are those things that aren't working in your life that you'd like to change? And destroy and uncreate all those things. And don't expect to do it once and it just, your whole life becomes this magical rainbow fairyland. I've been doing Access for 4 years and I still work at it every day. My life gets better every day and I still work at it every day. So the tools don't work unless you use them. That's the number one thing. You got to use them. And what would it look like if your life could, you know, if you could have everything you asked for? Everything you asked for show up with ease, joy, and glory. Oh, there, that's the Access mantra. Ease, joy, and glory. Terrible.
Terrible, terrible, terrible. Thank you so much, Brendan.
Thank you, Nilofer. That was fun, and I apologize about the internet.
Yeah, that was fun too. I mean, how much fun can we have with all the technical difficulties on the Hangout? So thank you so much, Brendan. This was amazing. Thank you.
Thanks,
And
Nilofer.
bye.
And I'll see you in India soon.
I'll see you soon too.
Yes.
Bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.